Okay, attempt number 3. I think this one should work. Hello, friends. I'm happy to be here with you. So, what am I here and what I want to talk about? Um, you hear me speaking a lot about energy updates. What the hell is this? Why am I talking about this so much? Does it even make sense? Is it real? Is it some sort of airy fairy stuff? Um, I feel like I sometimes can get into my world with this energetics that people don't understand, but I want to bring awareness that we're not that separate from each other. We are all in a field of energy, one field, one pool of energy. And I can even say we are the pool of energy, all of us. So when we think of like, oh, how is something over there affecting me? Like what the, like it doesn't make sense. I think we need to catch up. Hello, 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 hello. I think we need to catch up with the understanding that, which I think clear for many of us, but we forget. It's like not everything I see, not everything that I don't, hold on, scratch that. If I don't see something, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right? So we talk about cause and effect in astrology, for example, but in many things. We talk something is causing an effect. So when I give you astro updates, I speak of, hello, hello. I speak of the effect that something that's invisible has on you, right? But why am I saying this is think of, for example, like a sound that you cannot perceive. You can't hear the sound, but your dog can. And your dog is going crazy because of that. So you can either look at the dog thinking, oh my God, the dog is crazy, like what's going on? Or you can think, oh, maybe there is something that is affecting, that's something that I don't perceive, but she's being affected by. And that kind of makes more sense, right? Like life starts to make more sense. So I always say, like, we either work with energies if we understand what it is, like if we're given a map sort of thing, right? And you are in a forest and you don't really fully know everything, but you at least have a map and you kind of know where you're going. You don't know exactly what you're going to see. The experience is not going to be, there's no fortune telling. But you at least have a map. You know that, okay, if I take this turn, I get to the ocean. But if you don't have a map, you can be going on around and around and around, and that's okay. That's fine. But I feel like tools like this, like astrology, to me, it's a language because there's many different astrologies even. It's a map. Use it or not, it's up to you, but it is valid. And how do I say that it's valid, and why do I say that it's valid? Like there's oftentimes this question that come in, do you believe in astrology? I sometimes hear, not to me, people don't ask me that. And I really feel like it's not a right way to ask the question, because I understand that the people who ask the question and the people who answer this question, they usually think of astrology as this 12 zodiac signs. Are you Cancer or you Scorpio, or like I'm Pisces? But it's not that complete. Like that, I agree. I don't believe in that type of astrology. But if we go deeper and to understand really what astrology is and how complex it is and how many different levels of understanding, and that everything that we read always comes through the prism of a person who is reading. So we always have to make sure that whoever we're hiring to do the astrology for us, we kind of align with their values, with the way they view life. Because if not, there's no one thing that you only see objects on the chart, but how we interpret them, of course there are some rules, but there's so much room for persons values to kind of spoken through. So for example, some the old style astrology that I don't like talks a lot about predictions, right? And we, in the sense of like, some people come with questions, when is the best day to get married, when am I going to meet someone that I going to have children with, or etc., etc. I don't like questions like this, because they kind of separate us from our source of creation. Like, we are the creator. Why are you asking someone outside of you? It's like you're giving away the power. But at the same time, the questions that I love to answer in my sessions, and I invite people, only those who are like this wired, what is something in me, like the psychological questions that you either trying to understand. Why am I keep going on the same loop, right? Like I told you with an example with the map. Like, now we'll look at the map and we can see, oh, you're going on the same loop because you need to learn this lesson. There's this wisdom over here, there's some pain, there's this some stuff from past life, believe it or not, whatever. So, and then the person's like, oh my God, I feel like I've just for the first time been seen. And there's this acceptance that happens when we look at ourselves from a bigger perspective, because in this pool of energy, we're still very unique. And so, but there's norms and rules and regulations. And so we feel like, oh my God, I have this anger issues. This is not right. This person is dealing it with this way, so I'm going to be dealing it this way. But it doesn't work for you, because maybe you have a very different build-up, and that anger is meant to be something special for you. And do you understand that or not? Or you're trying just to be like everyone else? So all these squares trying to be circles and not fitting in and never feeling good enough. And it's just like an on and on story. And we have many tools. But, you know, astrology and destiny matrix are two tools that I love to use. And of course, my own intuition, just because it's the strongest one. Are the things that I love. I see value, I know how to read them, you know, that's kind of my gem. So the questions that are more about psychology, and why I always like, when we think of astrology and how does it work? How does it work? Those planets outside, how are they affecting us? And why are those, you know, planets, the archetypes, because I always talk about the planets being the archetypes, some sort of psychological archetypes that are, you know, all in us. They're not some sort of gods ruling over us and, you know, making us do things that we don't want, or like there is some sort of, you know, we need to, you know, pay for something. No, I don't believe in this kind of, I don't have this kind of outlook to life, and it doesn't mean that it's not true. It's just not in my kind of line of understanding life. So, but at the same time, we don't necessarily need to understand the how. Like, I honestly don't understand how the cell phone works. I don't know how I'm right now on Instagram. Like, I don't know all the nitty gritty, but I know it works. I see the result. So the same thing with astrology. Like, we can be either asking how, because the mind, you know, oftentimes the mind uses different ways of resisting the growth and going into the unknown by just like finding ways of like not believing something, right? Because we want to stay into, you know, we are very stuck into one identity. That's the biggest thing. Like, people have big issues with change because they are stuck to believing who they are, and it's very hard to shift. So what was I talking about? Okay, so now you don't necessarily know the how, but if you see it's working, if you see that it's giving you positive results, if when I give energy updates and I tell you, you know, this energies are present, this is how you feel, this is how, you know, that like the emotions are highlighted for you, or the self-expression, or this kind of things may come up, and you're like, oh yeah, it is happening. So why not use it? Like, I'm not asking you to invest your, you know, like your life into this, but if there are tools that are helping you understand and come into self-acceptance and come into the understanding of how to deal with the world, then why not? Hello, my love. Then why not? Another astrology journey, but the Vedic one, talking about different languages of astrology, right? I read the Western astrology and other people read Vedic. Are they like one is right and other is wrong? No. Is Japanese right and English wrong? No, they're just two different languages. Love you. They're just two different languages. And there's, you know, special tendencies that, you know, then some say cultures developed and others cultures are focused more on this. The same with languages of astrology. You know, Westerners focusing more on this, you know, and looking at life from this perspective, and Vedic is looking at life from this perspective. They're not wrong. This is what we need to get to people, like expand our understanding that like this dualistic thinking, right and wrong, is already wrong. Yeah, and it's not, no, and at the same time it's right, because we are in this, you know, matter of fact, right? Like this body is here or not, right? Like I can feel it. But at the same time, so there's different perspective we're looking from, and if we're taking a more of a spiritual perspective, what do I mean by that? Meaning, oh my God, how can I illustrate? Like something, everything is within the spiritual. Like spiritual is not outside. The subtleties, you know, then become more and more kind of pronounced, and more and more and more dense, and then there's physical. So that's why I personally like to focus on the outside spiritual ones, because they help to see what influences the physical. That's my way of looking at this. But you can also narrow down to a smaller world and just be in the physical, and that's right too. But it doesn't help, especially at this time in our life, because I personally believe or strongly know that we are in the times of change of consciousness, where we are blending the two, the physical and the spiritual. You know how we, in the last, you know, couple of thousands years, we were like stuck either like something, right, either in the physical or in the spiritual, right? Either we had this kind of escapism into the mountains, just like prayer, monks, etc., or we were like just work, you know, householder life, etc. But it doesn't work anymore. The split doesn't work, and we are on this state of consciousness where we, you know, have a lot of publicly known information that helps us to grow with understanding. That's why I always say, and I also call it like the you know, divine masculine, divine feminine, right now rising to meet each other instead of being one dominating the other. Because all of these questions that we have that are rising to the surface, like mental health, you know, all these global things that we started to care for nature, they are present for us because we are awakening consciously. We are starting to come into the wholeness. That's not just me, mine, and that's it. But it's like, oh, okay, like I'm part of the whole. I am connected to everything. I am affected by the whole. I affect the whole. So we started to look at life from this global perspective, and this is for me this beautiful dance of, you call it feminine and masculine, you know, spiritual and material. And the focus for me and the people who come to me, if they come to kind of ask me questions, is how, you know, how can I use those, you know, intuitive or the subtle energies and gifts that I know how to read to help you practically in this physical life. Like, that's what's most important, you know, because we don't want to escape too far from, and I'm very guilty of this. I'm very up there, like, and it's a work for me to ground myself into this physical world and being able to explain those subtleties in language. And so for me, that's a practical, everything has to be practical. That's why I use astrology and I use coaching and I use psychology, and I blend those three things plus my intuition, of course, that's quite strong. So I blend those so that I can help you create a better living situation where you feel better, where you more fulfilled. And there's different answers to different people on what will make you fulfilled, what will make your talents come to the surface. Why is your pain like this? You know, because pain can be the same for different people, but the reasons, the causes will be different. And I think those more, you know, subtle studies and mysteries that we have access to can help us and guide us through. It's like a map, like I said earlier. So so I talked to you about the personal astrology, right? The understanding yourself. I talk to you about the kind of transits when it's like an energetic weather. It's like when you know it's gonna rain, you're gonna take the umbrella. That's it. The same way here. It's like when we talk about the transits, especially like I have right now, I started, today is a Leo new moon, I started this group, which is free, by the way, for all women to join. The link is in the bio. You don't have to join just today. You can join anytime during this lunar cycle, because it's better late than never, and it's not late anyways, where I will be giving daily information on the moon's position, but very, like, I'm not going to be giving you all the like nitty gritty, but like how is it affecting you? So you understand, moon is affecting our mood. Like right now, look, I'm all this bubbly, you know, happy because moon is in Leo, at least in Western astrology. I think in Vedic already too. So it's like, okay, like, you know, and then later you're going to feel maybe like there's an emotional depth that you experience. And then instead of just rejecting this, or like there's some, you know, people are being emotional around you, instead of just being like, what the hell, like, why are you like this, we can raise to be more compassionate, because we understand why things are like this, because we are all affected by things, you know, that are subtle, that are invisible. And it's important to remember that. So join the group. If you're a woman, we have an amazing group of women. Like I said, it's the information that I'm giving there, that's daily. It's very short. It's not going to take a lot of your time, but the containers that I hold, they are special. They're very subtle, but they create great transformation, because they're all about introspection. They're all about understanding the cause and effect in your life. And when you start doing that, you then become more of a creator of your reality. And then, of course, we grow into becoming a co-creator when we understand we are all impacting each other. And so in that field that I'm holding, I do believe that we are going to come into great transformation. And it's all about Leo energy, because the new moon is in Leo. So there will be this great understanding, deepening of like what brings me joy, what makes me playful, what brings, I call it romance with life, like what makes me feel, like what kind of life do I want to have, especially for women, because this is a women's group. What kind of expression am I missing in my life? How can I bring out more of my authenticity, of my truth? All of those are Leo topics, and it's going to be unfolding for us. And those who are in a group, or those who have the tools, they will be more prepared to not close off and just go into the same pattern as before, but actually open into the new pattern, and open to see the old pattern and start rewiring into the new. It's like working on the muscle. I always say that. It's like working on the muscle. We are just starting something new, so we can't expect it to work right away. But if you keep practicing it, and to practice it, we need awareness. And to have awareness, we just need to even have that there's a blind spot to begin with. And that's where astrology helps. That's why I invite you to the women's group that I called, how do I call it? Lunar Wisdom. And also to Maya Astro Coaching. That is just so much more deep than just not just but astrology, but my approach, if you can sense it. It's practical and it's intuitive. It's a lot for the people who are sensitive and maybe not fully understanding their talents and their gifts, who are connected to the pain body, who are maybe empathic, and just have some difficult past. And just overall are seekers of the truth within who they are, and also how to bring that truth out into the world, that they can be in the greatest self-expression, they can be in the greatest service, yet not struggling to carry the weight, but being in the light, in the genius, experiencing life and playing with it. Oh, I'll be done for now, but I always have something else to say. So if you are interested, I am inviting you to any of my containers. There's other things too, but this is for now. Mwah, I love you.